Alright, this morning, August 24th, we're going to have a discussion. The difference between leverage and labor. This morning I woke up and I was cleaning off my desktop, and this was actually a training that I did for Pastor Julius. He shot me some ideas. Well, he had shot a presentation previously to me before about leverage and labor, and I told him that I would do this training for him just to give him an insight on how I see things and how it looks. So some of these ideas, are his, and some of these ideas are mine, and all we did was just combine them together and just to release something to you, because we haven't really done anything as far as training and releasing anything on YouTube. So as I was cleaning out the desktop, I ran over this presentation. I said to myself, it's pretty good. Let's do something with it and release it to the people. And the objective is to get us free, open up our mindset to different things and aspects that we haven't really entertained before. So the title is The Difference Between Leverage and Labor. We'll go a little bit slow just so we can ponder on some thoughts and really visualize some things and see if we can get free in some areas and allow us to get a better understanding of what we've been called to become. Purpose. Our objective or focus for today is to establish 3 key points: the difference between leverage and labor, why we should be focusing our energy on leverage, and how focusing our energy on leverage will benefit us. Everything that we do, everything that we become, and everything that we do, and everything that we are should benefit us as a community, whether it be the body of Christ or whether it be the nation, whether it be us internationally. Everything that we become and we do should be beneficial onto us, because principle says that if we are service to one another, that we all benefit. So we should never have the mentality of doing things to appease ourselves. In a sense, we should have the mentality that others are first before ourselves. Even though everybody needs me time, I understand that, but my main mindset is to everything that I become and everything that I do, because I become first, then I do. Everything that we become, we do unto others first. Labor. Everybody has the mentality of working hard. I apologize to the masses that that's not my mentality, and I don't teach my students that mentality as well. And I'll share with you why in a quick bit. Labor to strive as toward a goal, to work hard, often follow to labor for peace. That's the key. Think about that. To labor for peace. Do we really have to labor for peace, or is peace on the inside of us? Do we really have to work hard? My thought I want to submit to you is that many times, or oftentimes, or sometimes, or a few times, however you want to phrase it, when a person is working hard, they're working in their own strength. They have their will and emotions tied up into a person, place, or thing that they are involved in. And many times when our mindset is involved in our will, I'd rather say our willpower is involved, it doesn't allow God to function on the inside of us. Many times I see people when they're learning, when they're teaching, we try to release things to individuals, and I'm saying from an academic standpoint in the realm of education, and to share this thought with you, we never really learn anything to total capacity by a drill sergeant or someone continually force feeding us information. We always really absorb things from a state of relaxation. Think about your favorite song or TV show. When that piece got ingrained on the inside of you, you were in a relaxed state. You're probably sitting up with your feet up, watching TV, got your MP3 player on or whatnot, or music even in your house, and you just allow the impartation, the imprint, the impression of whatever you were entertaining at that time to get on the inside of you. You were at a place of peace. We were at a place of peace, and then it came and it hit our internal being, who we were. And now we can walk from that measure. So think about that when we are promoting people working hard. My thing that I push on my students is that refrain from working hard, produce diligently. Be consistent in what you do. Anytime I see them get frustrated, I know that they're working in their own will, and I release them of that by different exercises that I've trained them to do. So as we move forward, synonyms for labor: working people, working class, exertion, patrician, delivery, drudge, overdue. Think about labor, and the image that I saw was, when I saw the word delivery, I'm thinking about someone that's pregnant. And when a woman is pregnant, men and women can be pregnant as well, because men, we all can be pregnant with purpose. But I'm speaking from the natural standpoint of a woman being pregnant. In order for her to deliver that baby, it becomes traditionally her womb has to open. So our mindsets have to expand and increase in order for us to deliver what God desires from us. So think about that as we move forward. Society has conditioned us into thinking that we must toil and labor. Went and saw The Butler last night. It's an okay movie. I can't put my opinion on it, but my thought is this, is that if we continue to go back and rehearse a toil and labor mentality, we won't experience freedom holistically, totally. So we got to ask ourselves, what's the motivation behind this movie? What type of thoughts and emotions and actions and behaviors is movies like this? And I'm not only saying that movie because I can't pigeonhole that movie, but I'm saying in society that we are projecting and we are sending images and impressions to our people and to our youth that we must toil and labor, that everything is hard. Now, things do get difficult to keep us in a place of humility, but many times we rehearse the past of what someone else did, and we should be learning from that experience to move forward. So I'm not saying that there won't be any toiling, because that's a place of humility, but when we come into a consistent mindset of working hard, then that's a problem, because we should be working from a posture of peace. When it's peace, the grace is there for me to do it. I just have to release my own mindset concerning what needs to be produced or what needs to be done. So toil, according to freedictionary.com, toil means to labor continuously. That's what I'm saying. To labor continuously, to work strenuously, to proceed with difficulty. Even as I'm speaking to you with this training, I am not working strenuously. I'm producing for my purpose and destiny. I'm producing from the grace that God has placed on the inside of me. I'm not even really thinking about the thoughts that I'm projecting to you, because I have a conscious awareness of who I am and what God's called me to produce, and I have an unconscious awareness of this material, because this is a part of who I am. So if I was doing something else outside of training, I would probably be working strenuously and to proceed with difficulty, because it's outside of the gift that God has placed on the inside of me. And we'll go into that in the next slide, I believe. Oh, okay. This is a statement that Pastor shared with me for the presentation. Was, if you don't work hard, especially as a man, you're considered as lazy. But we won't spend a lot of time on that, because we do have males that like to work hard. And I'm going to tell you one thing, is because of their culture. It's because of the culture, because of their upbringing, and the mindsets, the conversations that their parents had, or whoever their parents were. Now, I can say parents from a standpoint of a physical mother and father, and I can say parents from a standpoint of what they entertain, the TV program, the conversations, the newspapers. All these things parent us from a standpoint, and our culture and our family background projects a certain mindset to us. Every man, I believe, has some type of working with his hands being great on the inside of him. But I can attest to you that every male, that's not his grace. So if a male is not working with his hands or working hard, that does not make him less than a man. He may be working in his grace. He may be producing diligently. So let's be open to consider those type of thoughts. There is no home court advantage laboring outside the confines of your purpose and destiny. This is what's being said. If I'm away from home, as LeBron James was in this photograph, I'm going to go into a hostile environment. The fans are going to boo me, and it's going to be difficult. You can ask any NBA player, it's probably more difficult to win an away game than it is a home game because you face a hostile environment. Now let's think about the confines of our purpose and destiny. Once we step outside purpose and destiny, the enemy speaks to us. You have different thoughts, different conversations, pushing us and telling us we can't do it. You can't make it. You can't achieve this goal. What does it produce? A labor mentality, us working hard. Now when we stay in the confines of purpose and destiny, not saying that the enemy or the enemy of yourself, them thoughts not gonna come. But I can say this, that if LeBron is playing at home, there are more Miami Heat fans than there are Cavalier fans. So there are more positive thoughts, positive conversations, rooting us on, encouraging us to move forward in comparison to away fans. So think about that thought. That's a profound thought. That if LeBron James is a Miami Heat player is at home, there are more Heat fans rooting in his favor, encouraging him, than there are oppositions that's against them to win this game. As we move forward, let's talk about labor. We moved away from labor. We understand that labor can be outside of confines of purpose and destiny, which can cause us to sweat. However, if labor is in the confines of purpose and destiny, then if we have the grace and the ability to produce and become what God has called us to become. Talk about leverage a little bit. Leverage, mechanical advantage or power gained by using a lever. Question: what is your lever? What do you use for leverage? Do you use people, places, and things? Do you use computers? Do you use the information that you have on the inside of you? These are all questions that we must ask ourselves. The first word I see in mechanical is mechanism. What type of mechanisms do we use? What type of systems do we have in place that allows us to maximize our time, talent, and treasure? And that's where I see, as far as from an entrepreneur standpoint, that even myself has fallen victim, and I'm sure others have fallen victim to not having systems in place and mechanisms in place. And when we don't have a vision, you can't write a vision that you don't have. You can't make things plain if you don't have a vision. If you don't have a vision, something written on a piece of paper, a system of thought, a mechanism, then we don't have the power or ability to act or influence people, events, and decisions. So as we move forward, think about that. There's many levers or things of leverage that we can use to give us the ability to act or influence. But the one thing that we have to understand is that whatever game plan we have, whatever game plan the coach has, he gets his team in the huddle and he etches the play on the playboard, and then they execute based off of what the coach is saying. Almost done. I wonder what our thoughts are. I wonder what our thoughts about labor and leverage. I wonder, do we understand the difference between labor and leverage? I wonder, do we understand how both can benefit us, but how leverage may benefit us a bit more? What is the leverage we use to influence people, events, and decisions? Our position, spiritually, mentally, and physically. Even though I didn't put spiritually for other reasons in here, I'm saying it now. That our position mentally and physically, the position we are in, will determine the amount of leverage or influence we have in a region. Mentally, physically, socially, financially, and spiritually, first and foremost. So whatever my position is will determine the amount of leverage I have. So let's say that if an individual is walking, he or she or he, walking in the purpose and destiny, then the position that they have will allow them to greatly influence people, events, and decisions. Because number one, they know who they are. Number two, they're working in the confines of purpose and destiny, which gives them home court advantage. They didn't step outside of anything they weren't called to do for the sake of trying to prove something to somebody that I worked hard to achieve this. We want to produce diligently. We don't want to quote unquote work hard. We want to be consistent in what we do. But when we get into the mentality of hard from society standpoint, then our willpower gets in the way of the gift on the inside of us fully functioning. So let's think about that as we move forward. But in order to influence a person mentally, physically, socially, and financially, we have to be in right position in order to do it. And that's staying within the confines of our purpose and destiny. So as we've been arm wrestling through this whole entire conversation that we've been having, and what I want you to do is sit back and kind of think about arm wrestling and what influences an arm wrestling match. What are the influential factors that allow a person to win in an arm wrestling match? I'll give you about a minute or so, and if you want to, you can write down some answers or just get some answers in your mind, and then we'll come back and discuss it in about 30-40 seconds. Alright, moving forward, my thought is, when I looked at this and when I pondered on it, my main thought was the position. The position of the person's hand, the position of the person's elbows, which goes back to the point that in order for us to have great leverage, we have to be in the right position. We have to position our hands correctly. You think about hands are very symbolic of service. And my service is representative of who I am and what I produce or what I do. And if I'm not servicing the right individuals, then I don't have enough leverage to influence them. You have the ability, and we have the ability to influence individuals, but there is a specific people or sphere of influence that we've been called to influence. But once we come into that realization, then the leverage, the ability, the power to positively influence individuals is magnified. So you won't see me anywhere else but in arenas of teaching. Not going into any other arenas. I'm staying in the arena of teaching, because when I'm in that arena, that's my home court advantage. If I go out into any arena, unless God has prescribed me to do it, then I'm away. I'm just like LeBron James. I'm in an away game. When an away game transpires, that tells us that the fans are gonna boo. The people and the voices and the circumstances aren't in my favor. But if I stay in my lane, and if I stay in home court advantage, staying in the arenas of teaching, then I have favor. I have home court advantage, and if I have favor, we have favor, and if we have favor, then we have the ability to change society. So as a summary, labor means to strive. That's toward a goal, to work hard. And this is a definition that was taken from the internet. Synonyms for labor: working people, working class, exertion, patrician, delivery, drudge, and overdue. I believe these definitions, some of these definitions were taken from freedictionary.com. These the first two. Society has conditioned us into thinking that we must toil and labor. I challenge you today, when you watch the TV, when you outside shopping, think about and be observant to your surroundings. It's important not to be critical, just to be neutral. Because if you're critical, then it won't allow you to see what God desires you to see. So my challenge to you is, any TV program that you watch today, just be observant and watch the commercials and watch how society projects a certain mentality to us. Fourthly, leverage is the power or ability to act or influence events, decisions, and people. This is just a definition that we had. And our position, mentally and physically, and also spiritually, is the position our position, which is a typo, I apologize for that. The position we are in will determine the amount of leverage or influence we have in a region. A region can be spiritually, mentally, physically, or socially. A region can be whatever God's called you to do, whether it be in the arena of education, the arena of arts, music, or sports. And a region can also be whatever location, job-wise, that God has called you to occupy, whether it be Walmart, Kmart, any type of warehouse, any type of downtown office company. whether you work for Google or whatnot, these are all spheres of influence, and these are all regions that God has called us to have influence in. So in summary, we understand that we must labor. When I say labor, I mean produce, because we work to produce fruit inside the confines, the guidelines, and the borders or the boundaries of the purpose and destiny that God has placed on the inside of us. If we leave outside those borders, we lose home court advantage. As an example with LeBron James, once we lose home court advantage, then we go into a hostile environment, which makes it harder for us to win. And when it's harder for us to win, we work harder because we're not in the confines of purpose or in destiny. But if you have any questions, any comments or concerns, feel free to post some comment on the YouTube page, or you can send your comments to me at divineworks@ymail.com. Once again, this is Brother Marcus. We just talked about the difference between labor and leverage. Any comments, you can feel free to post on the YouTube page. Any questions, other questions or concerns, or if you desire training, you can reach me. And also when you reach me, you can reach Pastor Julius, because I'll give information to him as well. But you can reach us for the time being at divineworks@ymail.com.